What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Now, it's been a very long time, but here we are back in Gran Turismo Sport. This will continue a series that I've called Race to Relaxation. So to that end, I've actually gone ahead and removed the racing sound so we can instead focus on the actual relaxation. So I will be here providing some commentary as we move forward, just to get you guys caught up on everything that's going on, and for people that may not be familiar with the game. This game really has a habit of starting you out on turns if you're in your last place, like this. So very easy to spin out there, and you can see the driver behind has actually gone ahead and done that. So credit to them for not just quitting the race. So there are a couple of concepts that are critical to this game. One is just how powerful the slipstream in this game is. So in order to access that, you have to be within 3/4 of a second of the car in front. And around a circuit like this, it's good for maybe a couple tenths per lap, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're trying to go as fast as possible, anything that you can get for free like that is certainly welcome. So we've already gone ahead and pulled up on the driver in front, really closing that gap. So another critical concept to this game is getting on the power as soon as possible. So much time can be won or lost just with that. So I'm here in the Lexus Rcf, sort of what I would classify as a Swiss Army knife, sort of a jack of all trades car, with decent straight line speed, pretty well-rounded handling, and braking it also does a pretty good job on. So that is going to kind of lend itself to a circuit like this, where there's sort of straight and twisty sections as well as big braking zones. So here we are going into the last turn of lap number 1, really maximizing our exit speed there and getting past the driver in front. So this is a little bit of a misnomer. It's called a daily race, but it actually goes on for an entire week from Sunday to Sunday. So this was the last day that this race was available, and I do something that I almost never do here, which is I actually practice this race. I know, crazy, right? But the way that the game and the qualifying system works is you put in your best lap time and it will sort of rank you based on that position and find you a lobby of competitive racers. So I did something that I almost never do, which is I put together my best lap all in one. So really proud of the time I put in for this one. So here we are, moved up a position from 15th to 14th, and really getting close to the guys in front. A car here with just a terrible rejoin, but fortunately I am able to get through. Not completely unscathed, but we also don't go flying off the track, which is nice. So it's when you see a group of cars like this in front of you that you start salivating because, well, you're almost guaranteed to get at least one position. So there's 1 and 2. So here we are headed into the first turn of lap number 3. Car on our outside here, and he just does pull off a beautiful move around the outside and filters in ahead. So no problem there, we'll just follow this car through and hopefully we will get a better exit through this chicane. So really taking that turn well, and you want to get as close to that red portion of the curb as possible without hitting it. So very easy to just hit that on the way out. And what happens is really the car just kind of handles in an unpredictable way. Either one wheel hops or 2 wheels hop off the ground and you sort of land at an awkward angle. Very easy to spin the car. So we just want to get through here unscathed. Just close up to the back of position 10 as close as we can. So in a race like this, even when starting near the back, you just want to have a good race, move up as many positions as you can, and just really put in consistent and quick laps. Hard to do both, but it's interesting in this game. It almost rewards the more consistent drivers. I find a lot of people have a much faster pace than I do, and really a lot better lap times, but I just kind of keep it consistent, and it is good for beating a lot of drivers that are technically quicker, and that is why the slipstream in particular is so important. It really is such an edge, especially when you're not as quick as other drivers. So here we are around the chicane for the 4th time. You can see the car in front of us hitting that curb like I was talking about, but keeps it under control. So well into slipstream range. We'll kind of see if the move is on here. Not quite, and I just give him a little bit of a tap, but the car in front seems unbothered. Although 9th position with a big moment there and almost spins out. So this driver behind me is someone that I faced probably a half a dozen times during this week. A guy called Be Nice to Don, who was actually quite nice, especially when we were having a little bit of dialogue after some of the races. I accidentally spun him out on one of them. He kind of did this move where he was sort of spinning anyway, and then I just kind of, it was one of those moves where I just could not get out of the way, and I just kind of spun him the rest of the way around. So apologize for that, and he was very understanding. So Don behind us, just out of slipstream range now, but he is in the GTR, a very quick car in a straight line. And speaking of that, the car choice pretty much had a lot of different cars in it, which was good to see. So another RCF in front of us, a lot of RCZs, some Porsches. But Don behind us was actually the only one that I saw in the GTR, which is a very interesting choice. Maybe he's just a lot better driver than I am, because I don't think I could make that GTR work for me the way that he has. So credit to him. And here we go past that RCZ on the way out of that turn. And holding on to 10th position for now, really wanting to seal off that apex, so I take a defensive line. So it's really at a moment like this where you're on your last lap, where you have to decide if you are going to defend the cars behind, or if you're going to really put your head down and try to catch up to the cars ahead. So the driver in 9th position, probably too far ahead to really catch up on, so I'm instead going to focus on sort of just taking a defensive line and not necessarily the quickest way through. So you can see we don't have to do too much, and have kind of opened up a gap to the driver behind, sealing off that first apex and then the second one on the final turn of the final lap. And we can just go ahead and bring it on through. So overall, really pleased with the way that first race went. It's always very positive when you can move up about a third of the field, especially in a quality lobby such as this one. We are in the A-rated ones now. I don't know if you caught that. I've actually been really practicing and really grinding this race to get my rating up. So very happy with the way that that's gone. So on to race number 2, starting a little bit further in front. And the issue that I mentioned in the previous race should not be one here. We should be starting along the straight. And this driver behind us is the one that spun out previously. So I saw him in a couple of other races, and he was just trying all sorts of crazy moves. So really we have to be careful going into this first chicane. So here he is with a little bit of a bump from behind, so that is going to kind of set the tone here. Really seal off that apex as he tries to hang it around the inside. And he's just had sort of a moment there that's gotten the car a little bit out of shape, and we can focus on moving forward. So the driver ahead of me again was the one from the previous race. So he really seemed to be very weak through that first section. The Genesis in front really slowing down, taking crucial momentum out of the speed we were gathering. But really, when the race starts off, you just kind of want to settle into whatever position that you are in and just really focus on making quality moves around the other drivers. So that one through the inside, and then we can focus and turn our attentions to the Genesis in front once again. So I know I probably shouldn't, but I get very distracted by cars with bright liveries. I just kind of find my eyes drawn to them and seeing what logos they have on them and things like that. And it's made me miss my braking point more than once, I will admit. So we have a move around Diego Fondo, 1986. Not sure what flag that is, but we will focus on other things instead. So this RCZ setting the record for how many spins you can have in an accident. Not too sure what happened there. So hitting that first apex nicely, and then really solid drive out of the second one. So here you're kind of in no man's land, as I like to call it. So out of slipstream range of the car in front, but the car behind is not in the slipstream range of you. So a little bit of a stalemate. And it's times like this where you really have open air, where you can really get your head down, really focus, and turn out some quality laps. So driver off the track coming back on, and off the track again. Hopefully we can just able to avoid the car coming across. And again, an Aston Martin. So really through this section, it's single file only, and you're really taking your life in your hands if you pass on the outside. It's so easy for a car to knock you wide, especially if it's not intentional. Sometimes it's very surprising to see drivers with moves like that. So here we are rounding out lap number 2, starting lap number 3. Having a nice return so far. Looking at the Beetle in front of us. So sometimes in a turn like this, it's a little bit better to give the cars in front a little bit more space, so that way you can really focus on taking the best line and really upping your exit speed like we have. So the Beetle was actually a very good choice for this race. Pretty good top end speed and very good handling. So you'll see that in just a second. Gonna look up the inside, but nothing there. So the old adage, if you don't go for a gap, rather, that's there. Are you even a racing driver? So we've gone for the gap, or at least tried for it. So racing driver confirmed, I guess. So starting to lose track a little bit of the Beetle in front of us. Just need to have a really good section here. And he's probably going to be caught up by all the traffic in front. So that RCZ hitting the barrier on the way out of the turn, but able to keep it pointed in the right direction. So I'm not sure how he made that work. But the Beetle on the brakes way too soon, and we're just going to slip up the inside. Trying to get past that RCZ too, and just unfortunately able to avoid that accident on the rejoin. So here we are 3 wide. I'm not sure how this is going to work out. So the Beetle just backs out very sensibly. And just the RCZ exiting stage right. So this race already gone very well, and we've moved forward quite a bit more than I expected. This is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to things like consistency. Just turning out reasonably quick but consistent laps. Really have to be on the defensive here, and you can see just how good a handling the Beetle has. So a little bit of contact on the way out, and I just back off a little bit and let him go through. So in lobbies like this, well, maybe not with lobbies like this, but with the way that I try to approach the racing in general, just keep it as clean as I can, even if that means backing off and letting cars go ahead. So we want to have clean moves, and I just rather, I was going to say win the race on merit, but I haven't won a race in a little while. I guess race with merit would be the better term. So the Beetle much later on the brakes here through this turn, and we just want to maximize as much as possible, especially on the final lap. So a little bit unfortunate we couldn't seal up 5th position, but we will secure 6th instead. So here we are. This is going to be the 3rd and final race of this video. So I'm going to try to be sneaky and start in reverse here, but the game is just having none of that. So this lobby, basically a repeat of the drivers that were in the 2nd race, including the driver behind me now. So I am sure they are going to try that same exact move around the inside. But once again, I'm just going to seal up that apex. We'll see what unfolds as we sort of hurtle down that first straight. So well within the slipstream of the car in front on this one occasion. So really maximizing that first turn, just keeping an eye on the radar behind, where the car tries that exact same move, but once again, it is just not there. I don't know why people really go for moves like that, because you are sacrificing such exit speed to just try to get ahead. And it's like I'm going to be well within slipstream range anyway. So taking a defensive line here because I know what's coming. Car briefly pops up on the radar, and we are just going to drive as fast as we can in the other direction. So once again, focusing our attention on the car in front, trying to have a good section here through the middle lap, sort of this infield section, I guess you could call it. Trying to do our best to maximize the lap time, especially after getting held up a little bit. You're always going to sacrifice time when you are in traffic or having to take defensive lines from the cars behind you. On this occasion, we can just get through here okay. Wind around and down this straight once again as we get started on lap number 2. So pulling on to the back of the driver in front, looking for the move, but it isn't quite there, so we're going to let him filter on through. So as we've seen in other races, we know just how weak this car is through here. The Beetle may be quite strong, but I'm not quite sure that this driver has really practiced that first section. Although he is technically quicker, I checked the qualifying time and he was like 0.003 seconds quicker, I believe. So taking the inside line and going on through ahead. So here's where we want to just be as fast as possible. Get back into the fight of the group of cars ahead as quickly as possible. Just leaving yourself vulnerable like this is not good, mostly because the car is going to want to be super aggressive behind you to get back into the pack, and you're always conceding lap time when you are stuck behind a slower car, which I mentioned earlier. So here the car right behind, I'm going to take a defensive line once more, seal off that first and second apex to prevent that cutback. So taking that well, and now we have a little bit of breathing room to the car behind. So starting lap number 3, now the race is already halfway over. This is what you really have to focus on, being consistent, because these races are so short. So even tiny mistakes can really cost you a lot of positions. And if you have a big mistake, you're out of it pretty much immediately. So not as much breathing room to the car in front as I would have liked, and we really have to compromise on that first chicane. Although 2 drivers off in front of us, so maybe we can salvage that. Looking up through the middle here, I'm going to try a little bit of a cutback on the Genesis in front, although I don't really have to try anything when you just drive off the track like that. So trying not to have an accident with this other car in front, and you can just see the swarm on the radar. And that is what I'm talking about. You really want to go single file through here. Although I squeezed the car on my left-hand side. Really should not have done that. That was a mistake on my part. So not staying very clean through there, but this is why you watch your replays so you can learn and make adjustments for the next races. So the cars behind just angrily staring us down and just poking into the radar. So here's where we want to really be consistent and focus on getting away, especially while all the other cars are being held up behind. So fast forwarding here, about the second half of the fourth lap, nothing too much going on. And we have a yellow flag here, that Viper being spun out. So moving up from 5th to 4th place, all we need to do is just have one more good turnaround here. And that is going to set up nicely for the final lap here on lap number 5. So the Genesis once again hunting us down. This is where you don't want to panic. You have a pretty good, I don't want to say sizable lead to the car behind, but pretty good where they can't just go for crazy dive bombs from behind. So you can really just focus on having a nice, quick, and clean lap. So the driver in 3rd place, over 3.5 seconds ahead. So this is where the decision has been made for us, where we can just afford to be defensive because 3.5 seconds is way too large of a gap to be made on one lap, especially by a car who is technically quicker. Not even technically, I should say, qualified much quicker than myself. So going wide here, another yellow flag, although I don't see which car that was for. And it looks like they've already regathered themselves by the time that we even get to that section of the track. So the Genesis behind once again in the slipstream range, but way too far back to go for a move. But I'm just going to be a little bit wary of that just in case. You never know what crazy move that people might try. Although it's almost me with the crazy move as I nearly spin out on the grass. Getting way too acquainted with the curb there, and we are able to bring it through for 4th place. So really pleased with the way that race went, moving up 6 positions. So guys, that is going to do it for this one, and maybe I'll get back into this game, especially since it seems that the daily races are getting a little bit more variety. So that is going to be all for now. So guys, hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you again in another video very soon.